All right, what's up, YouTube? Today I'm gonna be getting into a word real quick. Well, I plan on being quick. It might not be that quick, but I was having a conversation a while back, and somebody was asking me. I can't remember if it was a few months or a few weeks ago, but somebody was asking me, why didn't God want Adam and Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge of evil in the Garden of Eden? And so today I'm gonna be going through that. Let me just hit over that real quick and show y'all why God didn't want Adam and Eve eating from the tree in the Garden of Eden. And so to start out, I'm gonna just go to that real quick. I'm gonna go to Genesis chapter 2, and let me go to Genesis chapter 2. I'm gonna read that last verse. I'm gonna read verse 25, and it says, "And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed." And now I'm gonna go to chapter 3, verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, "Yeah, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden?" And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. For God doth know that in the day that ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. All right, and I'm gonna stop there. And so going over that real quick, talking about why God didn't want Adam and Eve eat from the tree of the knowledge of evil in the garden, and basically the reason why He didn't want them eating from that tree is because it opened their eyes in the flesh. But when they was in the Garden of Eden dealing with the presence of God, whenever you're in the presence of God, God is a spirit. So you're dealing with spiritual things. So there's no need for you to look in the flesh when you're dealing with the spirit of God, because God is a spirit. And so that's why God didn't want them eating from the apple, because it opened their eyes in the flesh. And I'm gonna just bring the whole word together to just make it make sense. I'm gonna go to Second Corinthians real quick, and I'm gonna go to chapter 5. All right, Second Corinthians chapter 5. I'm gonna start at verse 1. And it says, For we know that if our earthly house or this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of God and a house made with and house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. For in this we groan, earnestly desiring to be clothed upon with our house which is from heaven. If so be that being clothed, we shall not be found naked. See, this is what it's all about, being found naked in the spirit more so than the flesh. In the Garden of Eden, when they ate the apple, they immediately opened their eyes and was worried about the flesh. And that took away from the spirit, because you're supposed to be worried about being clothed upon in the spirit. And if you're in the presence of the spirit, God, you shouldn't be worried about your clothes. I mean, your body having clothes. It's all about your spirit being clothed. And so, if being clothed, we shall not be found naked. Verse 4, for that we are in this tabernacle do groan, being burnt, not for that we would be unclothed, but clothed upon, that mortality might be swallowed up of life. Now he that have wrought for us, now he that wrought us for the self same thing is God, who also have given unto us the earnest of the Spirit. Therefore, we are always confident, knowing that whilst we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Lord. For we walk by faith, not by sight. We are confident, I say, and willing rather to be present. I mean, willing rather to be absent from the Lord and to be present with the Lord. I mean, be absent from the body and to be present with the Lord. All right. And so that's what it's all about, being clothed in the spirit, as opposed to being worried about being clothed in the flesh. As soon as they ate the apple, they became carnal minded, and they weren't worried about their flesh no more. They weren't worried about the spirit no more. They immediately became worried about the flesh. They started saying, "Oh, we naked, we got to cover this body up." Well, it's all about having your spirit covered. And so I'm gonna go back to verse 7 real quick. For we walk by faith and not by sight. And again, if we go back to Genesis chapter, let me see. I'm gonna go by chapter 3 and go to verse 7. It says, "The eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, And 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7 tells us we walk by faith, not by sight. They immediately, once they consumed that apple, they started walking by the sight of their eyes and not of the spirit. They wasn't walking by faith of the spirit. And so just let me just take a break from the word of God real quick and just kind of make it make sense in a real life type of situation. Just think about it like, all right, as soon as they consumed that apple, right, they noticed that they was naked, like I keep saying, and they started worrying about the flesh. And just like think about alcohol, right? Like they call alcohol like wine and spirits, right? So it's like when they consume that apple, they start reading about their flesh. But it's like when you consume that alcohol or that wine and that spirits, what it does is it don't open your eyes in the flesh, it opens your eyes in the spirit. Or it might open other people's eyes in the spirit. And let's just say, like, all right, like it's somebody who like I don't know who to use as an example, but somebody who's like super mannerable, like always nice, always doing the right thing. It's like, what if they every time they start drinking alcohol, they like just got like super gangster. Like they just probably start slapping people, just like start going crazy. And people gonna be looking like, what is going on? Like this really ain't that person, or is it really? And alcohol just blowing their cover. You see what I'm saying? It's like once they consume that apple, they eyes get opened in the flesh. But it's like once you consume that wine and that spirit, it's like your eyes get open in the spirit, and you might see some things that ain't there. Like I said, we all know somebody who drink a little bit of alcohol and they just get super gangster out the blue. Like they might see somebody who they think looking at them crazy, but they really ain't. It's just stemming off the alcohol. They just acting crazy. And the eyes and the spirit is seeing something that ain't really there. Because if they were sober in the flesh, they would probably just keep it pushing. But when you get off the alcohol, some people just get super gangster out the blue. Let's just say, let's just use an example like this. Like I'm gonna put it like this. In the history of the whole earth, ain't no man ever got drunk and started doing something flamboyant, something a part of the LGB type group. If a man get drunk and he start acting like that, then it just might not be an act because don't know man, I ain't never heard of alcohol making a man go against his manhood. You see what I'm saying? So let's just say like a man got drunk and he just all of a sudden, like every time he got drunk, he wanted to start a twerking contest. Like people gonna be looking at him like, hold on, like why every time he get drunk he want to start twerking or something like. And what they're doing is when he consumed that wine and them spirits, like Adam and Eve consumed the apple and they eyes open. What it does is it open other people's eyes to your spirit, and they see like, okay, something ain't right about this. And if this is what he always doing, when them wines and spirits bring that spirit up out of him, maybe this is who he really is. Like I said, if you always acting like that, it might not be an act. But just to move on from that real quick, because I don't want to get too much into that. Just let me go to. As a matter of fact, let me go back to Genesis real quick. And I'm gonna start. I'm gonna read over real quick again. I'm gonna go to verse 6, and I'm gonna say, and when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And like you see right there, what it was. And see, look, I'm gonna put it like this: the serpent didn't lie to the lady, didn't lie to Eve. He told her, when you eat from this tree, it's gonna make you. What did he say to her? He said, "For God know that when you eat of, it, you should be as gods." And what did he tell you? What verse was that? And he said, "You should be as gods, knowing good and evil. Your eyes should be open." So he didn't lie to her. Like the serpent is known for being a liar and a thief and all that, but in this case, he didn't lie to her. Her eyes were open, and she sort of became as a god with Adam when they ate from that tree, having their eyes open, seeing having the knowledge of good and evil. And so, a lot of people might ask, like, why don't God want us to have the knowledge of good and evil? And like I keep saying, it's about the flesh, really. It ain't really about having knowledge of good and evil. It's about your flesh and your spirit. And so, I'm gonna go to Proverbs real quick, and I'm gonna show why we shouldn't go out. Let me just go to Proverbs real quick, and I'm gonna start at verse 1. And I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go verse 1 and 7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. And I'm gonna go to Proverbs 9 real quick. I'm gonna go to Proverbs 9 and 10. The fear of the Lord is beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. All right. And so the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. If you read Proverbs 1 and 9, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge and wisdom. So that's what wisdom, or the beginning of wisdom and knowledge, is the fear of the Lord. And then in verse 9 again, it said, the knowledge of the holy is understanding. So now we always talking about knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We see that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding goes hand in hand. All right. You can have knowledge and understanding. You can have the knowledge of how to build and understand how to build a bomb. But if you ain't got the wisdom to understand that everybody shouldn't have a bomb, you just might get killed by one of your own bombs that you create. And so you see, like I said, knowledge and wisdom and understanding goes hand in hand. And that's why I'm always talking about it, because it's always put together in the Bible. And I mean, if you just even go down to chapter 2 and you start at verse 2, it says, so that thou incline our ear into wisdom and apply thine heart to understand it. And then in verse 3, it says, yeah, if thou criest after knowledge and liftest up thy voice for understanding, and I ain't gonna read the rest of that, but like I said, y'all see how knowledge and wisdom and understanding is always put together, especially in this book of Proverbs, when we talking about one or the other. And so we talking about knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Because remember, in Genesis 3, when they saw that they could eat, when Eve saw that she could eat from the tree and her eyes could become open and she could become wise, she sought out to become wise according to her own understanding. And what that was wisdom in the flesh, and she shouldn't have done that. And so I'm gonna stay in our Proverbs. I'm gonna go to verse. I'm gonna stay in chapter 1, and I'm gonna go down to verse. Hold on, real quick. All right, hold on, real quick. I think it's in verse. I mean, chapter 1. Oh no, matter of fact, it's in chapter 3. So let me go over to chapter 3 real quick. And chapter 3, I'm gonna start at verse 5, and it says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. And all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Be not wise in thine own understanding. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. All right. And so going back to verse 5, it says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart. And it says, and lean not on thine own understanding. And all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Now, Eve, she did acknowledge God before she sought to eat from that tree in the field, in the garden. She said, God told us not to eat from that tree. But either way, she still let the serpent beguile her, as Genesis put it. She got beguiled by the serpent. And even though she did acknowledge God and her ways, she still went against God. She didn't trust in him with all down heart if she trusted what the serpent said over God. And so we go to the next verse. It says, well, we go to the verse after that one, verse 7. It says, be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. And so we shouldn't seek to go off and be wise in our own eyes, especially in the flesh, because we don't know the future. All right. And before I even get it into this, I'm gonna relate it like to the stock market, right? They say don't put all your eggs in one basket, and they just don't go for the stock market. They really go for everything. If you put all your eggs in one basket, like I said, you just don't know the future, and you could lose those. Not only the eggs, you could lose the whole basket with the eggs. All right, and so it's not smart to put all your eggs in one basket. And so we seek not to be wise in our own eyes. We don't lean on our own understanding. We follow the Lord. All right. And the reason, like I said, why we do that is because we don't know the future. And like I said, it's kind of like the stock market. Like you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, but just think about it like insider trading. Like typically people don't put all even most of their eggs into one basket. They kind of diversify, just let everything be of equal parts together. All right. But somebody who got like insider trading in the stock market, they just might put all their eggs into one basket if they know what's about to happen. Like, a matter of fact, just think about it, like with this whole coronavirus thing that just popped off, right? You had Johnson and Johnson, Moderna, Pfizer, and it was another one like AstraZeneca or something like that. All of them, they got those contracts from the government to create those coronavirus shots. And so if you had insider knowledge about that, it would have been smart probably to put all your eggs in one basket, even though that probably would have looked fishy. It probably would look suspicious and probably would have got you investigated. But if you don't put all your eggs in one basket, like I said, insider trading is just an example of why you don't lean on your own understanding. People with stuff like people who can see into the future, like with insider trading and stuff like that, dealing with the stock market, they might do that because they can see the future. They can see like, well, if the government about to give us all these contracts to produce all of these shots to get rid of this virus that the world is so scared of, then we know that this stock is about to do 1,000+%. If you don't know nothing about the stock market, 1,000%, that's game changing, that's life changing for real. And so people, we really shouldn't lean on our own understanding because we can't see the future. And those who can see the future, like I said, just an example with insider trading, they make the best moves only because they can see the future. They leaning on the understanding of what they can see coming, and that's wisdom. Applying knowledge and wisdom to understand what might happen in the future. You see what I'm saying? And so if you're wondering why God didn't want them to eat from that tree and leaning on their own wisdom, that's why, because we can't see the future. And so, like Proverbs said, we won't lean on our own understanding, but we're gonna trust in the Lord with all thine heart, because God is not only a spirit, God is the spirit. All right. And so if God tells us not to do something, he already know what's gonna happen if we do it. And so that's why we should just listen to him and not lean on our own understanding and seek out to be wise in our own wisdom. You see what I'm saying? And so just I think I'm about to close up. Maybe not, but I know I want to hit this before I do. And we've been over it like 1,000 times. But like I said, it ain't about, being clothed in the flesh. It's about being clothed in the spirit. All right. And like I said, as soon as they ate from the apple, they started thinking carnally. They started thinking about their bodies, which means the spirit probably wasn't that important to them like it was in the beginning. So I'm gonna go to Ephesians 6. In Ephesians 6, I'm gonna start at verse 13. And it says, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girded about with truth, and having on a breastplate of righteousness. Now, can you go out there and put on clothes of truth? Whatever. But in the spirit, this is what it's talking about. I ain't never heard of nobody putting on a breastplate of righteousness. Even bulletproof vests can still get you murdered. So this is talking about the breastplate of righteousness in the spirit. And so it's not about the flesh, it's about the spirit and being clothed in the spirit. As soon as they ate the apple, consumed the apple and started looking in their eyes, they saw that they was naked, and that's what they was worried about, the flesh. But when you're in the presence of God, you shouldn't be thinking about the flesh when you're dealing with the, the greatest spirit of all time. It's the only way I can put it. And so, again, stand out for having your loins girded about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, and above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all the saints. And I ain't gonna read the rest of that, but y'all see what it's about. It's about having on that breastplate of righteousness. It's about having your feet shod with preparation of the gospel of peace. It's about having your loins girt about in truth, and about, like I say, having on that breastplate of righteousness. And then about clothing your body. And so that's why God didn't want Adam and Eve eat from that tree in the Garden of Eden, because God is dealing with you in his spirit. All right. And so if he say do this or don't do this, it's because he already see what's gonna happen. He already know what's gonna happen from the beginning to the end. And so that's why he give us laws and commandments to follow. And we shouldn't seek out to be wise according to our own wisdom because we can't see the future. Only God can. All right. And so really I think I'm done with that. But I think I had something else I wanted to get to, but I really think I drove the point home. So I'll probably just be talking in circles if I keep going either way. But let me go out to Genesis and make sure I got everything. Yeah, I think I got everything out of Genesis. But basically, that's it. That's why God, for those of y'all, like I said, somebody asked me the question a couple weeks or a couple months ago. And that's some matter of fact, when I didn't believe in God, that's one thing I always thought about. Like, why wouldn't God want us to be wise? Why wouldn't He want us to know the knowledge? Why wouldn't He want us to have the knowledge of good and evil and all that? Matter of fact, before I even end, I'm gonna just say this. Think about we talking about good and evil, right? I'm gonna say this. Think about like killing babies, right? Like a lot of people go get abortions, and that's just what it is. But they don't call it that; they call it abortions. But like, think about like if somebody got a gun and just shot a baby in the head, like people would be all outraged and distraught and all that. But if you read the Bible, um, excuse me, if you read the Bible, like in the beginning, a lot of them campaigns when God was having Moses to go through and having us take a lot of land, that land of Israel, where we supposed to be at now. What God was telling us to do, He was telling us to go and take out the whole community. He was like, take out man, woman, child. He said, don't even let the animals live. He said, kill everything breathing. All right, and so today a lot of people will be like, "Oh, that's evil and that's wrong," and like I said, the same people getting abortions will say something like that is evil. But just think about it, like with Hitler. Like I think a lot of people can agree, like if Hitler would have got killed as a baby, I ain't even talking about abortion. Like somebody would just like shot Hitler in the head as a baby. Like a lot of people would have thought that was wrong and evil and would have been mad and this and that. But if you could see the future like God, you would have seen that that was actually it would have been a good thing if Hitler would have got killed in the baby. If Hitler would have got killed as a baby for the rest of the rest of humanity. All right, and so that's why God don't want us having the knowledge of good and evil, especially in the flesh, because we don't know what's what and we can't see what's coming. We shouldn't be wise, like I keep saying, according to our own wisdom. And so with stuff like that, that's why God didn't want us having the knowledge of good and evil. They want them to eat from that tree. And because they did, like the Bible says, through one man, Adam, death came into the earth, but through one man, Christ, life came into the earth, life eternally. So, like I said, I don't want to keep going through this. I just want to get those few little examples and show y'all pretty much. Because, like I said, I used to think about that too. Why God would want us to be wise and all that, and have that knowledge of good and evil. But it ain't as bad as it sound like it is. Because, like I said, when I didn't believe in God, I was like, man, see this. God just want us to be stupid. He controlling our life. Like, why would you even want to believe in Him? And like 10 years later, I'm reading out the Bible, explaining it, breaking it down. So pretty much that's it. Like I said, I don't want to keep going in circles. Like I thought I had another verse, but I think I actually even brought it up before. So I don't want to keep like I said, if I continue on, I'm gonna just be going in circles, making the message a little boring or whatever. And pretty much, that's it. If I forgot something, I'll put it up later. But for anybody who's been wondering, that's why. And so this concludes today's lesson. And I'm out.